Welcome back, everyone, to the Broker Room podcast. I'm Michael Simon, and today we have Damon Emerson joining us. Welcome, Damon.
Welcome. How are you today? Thank you very much.
Very good, sir. Happy to have you here. And for our listeners, with over 19 years in the self-storage industry, Damon is a co-founder and vice president of sales for StorSuite. He's built tenant insurance and protection programs, created StorePass technology, and recently merged companies to offer a full suite of services, including marketing, automation, and facility management. He's known for being upfront, relationship-driven, and truly helping owner-operators maximize their businesses. So, Damon, thank you again for joining us. We'll dive right in. You've been in the self-storage since the 2008 recession and watched the industry thrive while others struggled. So
Yes.
take us through, your journey from ex-baseball player and networker to building multiple programs, getting acquired, and now co-funding StorSuite.
Well, it's very funny. I became the ex-baseball player guy. I used to tell a lot of stories. My dad was a coach. My dad wanted boys that were um, baseball players. That's how we were raised. My brother was a million times the athlete I was, but that's what we always were called by him. And then I used to tell a lot of baseball stories because baseball is how I relate to everything. It's been, what I learned as a young kid, teenager playing to, you kind of take into just how you deal with people. But I was working with QVC when I was, early 30s, just kind of went through a career change and thought, you know what, let's see where this takes me. And I was fortunate to be starting in the call center there. And then, one thing led to another. And then I'm starting to learn from like, how do you deal with the talent behind the scenes? That's what the goal was. Let's have you start working in that area. And then CEO goes on a family vacation, comes back and removes 300 plus people from the company because they were closing the branch, and it was my first real hit of these are how corporations work. And it
Yeah.
was tough. It was frustrating. My boss at the time gave me the biggest hug and said, I need you to stay close to your phone. She goes, I'm going to find you wherever I land. She goes, you are a joy. Like you keep people laughing. I said, okay, didn't put much into it because I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not. And lo and behold, I get a random call. Hey, I need you to come talk to me. I am starting, you got to trust me. I'm going to build a call center for a self storage company. And my only history with self storage was I was an 18-year-old with my family renting a storage unit, and some toothless manager stole a bunch of my stuff out of the unit. And that
Jeez.
was my experience. So I'm like, oh no. Oh no, right? This is not. And my wife, who I will give credit for everything that happens positive for me in self storage, was the one who said, get off your high horse. You are the same person who talks about you'll give everything a chance. And now all of a sudden you're going to go back 14 years ago and this is the reason not to do something. And she's my best friend and I will always listen to her. And I said, yeah, you know what? You're right. So I went, I talked, I learned, I helped them build a call center for a company called You Store It, which most people know today as CubeSmart, top three, top four REIT in the world for self storage. And I helped them build a call center, took the first call, made the first reservation. And within 10 days, they offered me this marketing program called the You Store It Network. And it was a lead generation program. And that was really my start into self storage, where I started learning, boy, like this is nothing like what I expected. This is nothing what I assumed, right? And I watched the recession hit and our industry. I, I pause when I say the word like thrive because the reason we were busy was because of the recession and things happening. And you never pride yourself on taking advantage. And I always feel like when I say that you're doing it, it wasn't. It was we're an industry that people will always need. I'm not saying we're recession proof, but what I am saying is at the end of the day, people still need a place to put their things when they're downsizing. And it can't always be as easy as sell everything, right? So I watched this industry just take off and I started asking questions. And in this program they gave me, this marketing program, I'm not a marketing person, never has been. I don't have a college degree, but I research and I study and I listen and I ask a million questions. And what I did is I just started cold calling top 100 operators. And the top 100 became the top 50, became the top 25. And then I got 7 of the top 25 to just give me a little bit of time. And I was so forthcoming, I was so transparent, and I was very confident in an industry that I was still learning. But I had no problem telling them that listen, I need help. And that kind of set me on my path. That fall of that first year, I did my first trade show, and I had owners with 20 years experience 19 years ago that would sit there and go, I want to meet you in person. And then they met me and they took me around introducing me. And the introduction was, you're not going to believe how this guy got hold of me, right? He just called out of the blue. Who calls out of the blue when you work for a REIT? And they were taken back by my confidence, which for me wasn't being confidence. Like I just every day I want to be transparent if I can. And I think we have to be that, especially now as industries are changing. You still have to be the one thing that most people need, and that's transparent. And that set me off. And then through a couple of years, I grew this from nothing to a program where we were selling leads via phone call or reservations of people's self-storage units, and it became a six-figure part of their business. And then a client that I had signed up was in need of a person to grow their tenant insurance business in self-storage. And we had a conversation. They asked for some help. I told them I was interested. And less than a month later, they were introducing me as their new senior sales director. And for 10 years, I grew this program called StorSmart Tenant Insurance with our team. There was me and another gentleman that were the senior sales advisors, and we had another 3 to 5 salespeople working side by side with us. We had claims. I was part of not only the sales process, I was part of finalizing the testing for the training, doing the training, what works, what doesn't, creating a path to connect sales into training. And it really is where I became incredibly aware of when things go wrong, why, and how do you jump out in front of them. And it always helped because I, as a salesperson, took certain things for granted. One was what trainers do, right? As any type of sales that I had done, I had always I'm just going to sell, I'm going to move forward, put my head down. And I always thought that was the positive, but it's not. It's when you're handling sales and you're working with people and something like self storage, which is part of the real estate world, but in general, and having friends that are in, in the realtor side of things, I learned, you have to give more respect to the people that help you build it. It's not all on you. And that helped me create a better path for when you do a sale, it's not over. You are then working with your trainer to make sure that they're being successful and that they're being provided the information they need. And then from that, you're working with the client and the trainer. And from a sales standpoint, you have to be very aware of what's going on. And again, everything in my world comes down to transparency. So that kind of led to the next step. And then that, at that point, led us to 2019 when we were purchased by one of the big companies in our industry. A company that was they had a lot of investors, and they had bought some software providers. They had bought some insurance, gate access. They were just building this big, powerful brand, and they needed insurance because they didn't want to build one. And I was part of the team when they bought us in 2019. It happened to be the same day that we bought one of our biggest competitors in the tenant insurance world. And that led me on another journey to learn more about how we were transitioning in the world of tech. Now, it didn't hurt that COVID happened shortly after this occurred, and I got to see another area where self storage survived. We were put into a position where self storage, it's changing more now, where there's more AI automation, remote run facilities, but in 2019 and 20, remote was still kind of a dirty word. Like, oh, we can't do remote. You need a manager, right? Well, all of a sudden, state by state by state, and I lived in Pennsylvania at that time, they had a 2.5, 3 week shutdown where you could not be in a facility. Well, owners were panicking because uh, that's their lifeblood. Like, I need a manager to be able to rent units. I haven't, taken on the renting online, automated enrollment. I haven't done all these things. I need to get there. And whereas in the world of insurance, we were having 30% success over the counter, or excuse me, online. Over the counter, we were 65, 70% enrollment rate. It was amazing. But online, people were nervous because I don't want to lose business. If I offer this too aggressive, someone's just not going to rent. They're going to go on to the next person. They're going to go to the next, and eventually they'll find someone who isn't forcing this. And regardless if it was forced compliance or not, this was the concern. And I get it. It's a different change to your business, right? Well, all of a sudden, these owners were put in a position of, I can't lose my business, but I will if I can't rent units. What do I do? And now all of a sudden, owners who were telling us just months prior, I'll never do anything online like to this, and it's only there as an add-on. It's an added benefit. We're now going, well, it looks like the manager is the added benefit. I need to do everything online. And we watched in the world of insurance, especially, we watched our average, I call it tenant penetration. We watched the average go from in the low to mid 30s to almost 70% success rate, 30 to 45 days in. And rentals went up because now tenants who were smarter than we thought already were wanting to do more things online. They didn't always need to be in front of a manager, and it allowed owners to maximize not only the rental process profits, the service side of it. It taught owners how to give better support on the back end, and it allowed tenants to be up at 11 o'clock when they just realized, oh my God, I have to downsize, I have to do this, I'm moving, to get a unit right then and there. Whereas before, it would have maybe been a search and they would have looked 5 or 6 or 7 different companies through Google. Right now, it's, this is the first one you're offering and I'm going to take it. And I watched our industry survive again and excel. And that led us into, when COVID ended, we were moving forward. We were a fast moving machine. And the industry has gone in the last 5 years from, I think, 52,000 to just over 60,000 self-storage facilities in the United States alone. And through that time, I also had decided, I'm long-winded, so I apologize. I had decided that at that moment, I needed a change. The company we signed with was a great company. They still do great things. But for me, I saw where my path was going to be as a senior salesperson, and I am very hands-on. I am very relationship-oriented. And it's not that they were not, but, you know, I, I was in my early 40s and I'm not late 20s, early 30s, and I'm not tech driven and I'm not all these things that is more hands off. I built a quote unquote brand and I built what people know me as someone who will hit things head on, who will find you at an event, who will introduce you to any number of other companies that can help you, and I'm not just going to be a sit at home on the phone person. And I think that's what they needed. So I made a decision, although it was not a good one at the time, because it was a 6 month change of direction in storage that was just a waste. I don't even talk about the company I worked with because it was a waste of my time and abilities. But that led me to partnering on a company called Storage Shield with my current partner, and I basically became the face and the head and an owner in a tenant protection program that I recreated to be a hybrid of insurance and protection. And over 2.5 years, we created into a very different way for tenants to offer protection for their tenants, make revenue, and create a path where tenants and managers, or tenants and operation, are 1A and 1B in importance, for their goods being covered and managers and facilities not being put in the middle of a claim. We are very hands-on. We take care of the tenants. We have a claims in-house. We make sure that people are put in the best place possible, especially in times of struggle and need. And when you have your belongings damaged or stolen or burned, like, it's an emotional time. And a couple years ago, we decided to merge companies with me and my partners today, which was marketing, tech, third-party management, and tenant protection. And we created our company, StorSuite. People first mentality and the ability to continue to offer a path forward to make sure owner operators, managers, and their tenants are put in the best position possible. We're able to help them maximize revenues. We're able to help them limit issues and concerns through their website marketplace. We can manage the facility for them to put them in a better position so they can just focus on growth and buying. And then the tech piece, it's all about, for me, it's all about just better ways to communicate and to take care of the tenant in what is now the world we live in via tech.
Yeah, that is, excuse me, an incredible story, just how you were able to keep growing, time after time, navigating all those different times, circumstances, and to get to, where you are today. Just really an incredible journey. And so, like you said, coming off of that, we talked about the past. Now I want to take a little bit of a look at the present. Self storage is often called recession resistant, like you said
Yeah.
yourself, and you just gave several examples of, because people are always going to need a place to put their stuff. So, When we take a look at what's going on today, what are the biggest trends you're seeing right now in the self-storage industry, especially around, technology, owner-operators, and market opportunities?
AI is the biggest talking point. And I mean, Monday I was talking to someone. I mean, it's just every day it feels. Um, the unknown dominates the known, right? Like we know, humans we're very simple. We know what we know, we believe what we believe. We'll listen, we're willing to learn, but when fear sneaks in, you're hesitant. You take a step back. And I think AI has become weirdly a fear, but I think it's a created fear because it is the unknown, right? Google has been using AI and automation for 15, 16 years. We have just been so, uh, it's been normalized to us. So when we use Google, it's nothing and we don't consider that. But they've been doing it forever and they inadvertently have trained all of us what things to expect with any search engine. But that's how they've been doing it. So in self storage, you know, remote run facilities, hub and spoke, automated facilities, all these different names you're going to give it, have been trying to find ways to utilize it to maximize the process. At the end of the day, you still need a warm body, whether it's someone who is leading it, overseeing it, who is being there to pick up the phone, who is helping have discussions with owners on behalf of the tenants, for the tenants, or how to build it to offer a better product for the tenants. AI is here to stay. We have to realize as an industry, do we want to take it head on, or do we want to keep having these senseless fights with ourselves about, I need people. Okay, you can have people. It's just it's a better way of running the business. So I think AI is going to continue, and it's whoever perfects it. We created an app for a phone, uh, not necessarily AI, but it's tech, and it automates and it gives you better ability for communication instead of having to be on the phone or rent units, right? Like these are the areas that we are starting to embrace more. AI is just another piece of it, and let me tell you, wait till they perfect the AI voice control. And then all of a sudden you're on the phone with someone that you think is an actual person, and all it is a computer generated voice that is now taking care of you, right?
Yep.
Then what are we going to do? Because at some point, enough will be enough. I just don't know what that is right now. But I think that is a big part and what a lot of these tech companies are trying to create to be the first one to do it and to be ahead of the game. At the end of all of this, I still think 60% of our facilities and our self storage business are going to be strongly uh, people first, people run. We have to be willing to embrace change. And that's one thing our industry has been good at. I think right now AI is a fear, but I think the smart companies and the people that have invested smartly are understanding it has to be part of this if we're going to continue to have success because you don't want to be out in the cold. I also think marketing and website companies are starting to have their feet held to the fire because uh, it used to be marketing. I mean, if you remember in some of the stuff that you guys have dealt with, like there was a smoke and mirror feel to it, right? Like we're going to tell you we're going to do all this, but in reality, when we do this, we gaslight you on everything else because obviously we don't know your market and we don't know this and you're over demanding and all these different things. And I think what's happening in the world of marketing is we are seeing that, you know what? It's let's take a step back. And again, that transparency word comes in key because now we are finding ways to talk to clients one on one and let them know not only this is what we can do to help you, but this is how we're going to do it. And let us show you. And then we are being very transparent from everything from what you're going to see online to what you're going to see at the facility to what the tenant sees when we're doing Google Analytics, and then all the way to what the owner operator is going to see through a report. And here's what we're going to provide you. So it gives a better piece of support, much more comfort. And then I think on the third party side, we're seeing a lot of companies that are jumping in headfirst in the world of third party management. And I think what we're going to start seeing is some of these companies are now starting to merge. We've had a couple of our bigger third party management companies merge with others. And you have this feel that who's going to be the one that's not going to do it next? Who's going to be the one that's going to get back to service?
Mhm.
And, I hope for our sake that our company is one of the ones that continues to, like, I have one of the smartest human beings I've ever met that oversees our third party management. He has forgotten more than anybody I know knows about how to run a facility, and he's brilliant. And I think as long as we can keep getting him in front of people, then you can keep having a system in place that allows owners, listen, if you want something cheap, that's great. You have many companies that can be cheap. We will be here in a year when you realize I'm still where I was. If I haven't lost business, I still have needs, and that's where we'll come in to be able to help you. But these are some of the trends that I've found, especially in self storage, um, where I think we're going to continue to see change. And then, you know, buying and selling, I think we're starting to get into facilities are starting to become a little bit more high demand. I think because no one really knows what to say. Are we in inflation? Are we in a recession? What's our economy like? We're seeing some of the struggles now from a vendor standpoint. I know with people buying and selling, but it's whereas 9, 10 months ago you saw the struggle, you're starting to see the struggle lift a little bit, and we're starting to
Yeah.
see more action out there in the way of facilities being put on the market, a lot of communication, all that.
Yeah, and, to sum up, everything that you just said, I think the best way I can follow up with that is you really need to find the right balance with AI
Yes.
because, like you said, it's not going anywhere whether we like it or not. And what it is doing, and, everybody who's seen any of my episodes has heard this about 1,000 times already, but I'm going to say it again. It's gonna widen the gap between those who do use it and those who don't. We all know that at
Yeah.
this point, I think. And for the real estate industry in particular, it certainly has started to adapt more to it in recent times from what I've seen. I think the last 1, maybe 2 years is when it was really, really new stuff, completely foreign. Nobody knew what was going on. But now we're kind of in a transitional period where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I have a pretty good grasp on it. So now it's more about, how do I effectively implement it? And then, more so, how is it going to be perfected ultimately going forward? And with respect to, how it operates in everybody's businesses, that's gonna be different, but, for you personally, have you seen it, impact your business at all? Have you applied AI at all? Have you seen others apply? And if not, is there anything that you would like to see it do ideally where you think you could leverage it?
I think well, I mean, the simple answer is, hey, you can always use it and see what Chat GPT and some of those are able to do for marketing. I think I've talked to people that have their marketing plan is strict Chat GPT. And it's like, well, okay, like, Chat GPT even says that Chat GPT is wrong at times, right? So
Yes.
um, I think what's happening is I do believe, we have some marketing companies, the voiceovers, they are working on creating ways to make the at facility after hours. I think call centers can do a lot with it. I think they're starting to. I think to be able to have an after hours and have someone call in and be able to talk to someone, if it can, people are more apt to feel comfortable. We all have the same stories about chat bots and
Yeah.
how, you want to break your phone because 9 times out of 10, they don't actually hear what you're saying. They're just recorded to assume, right? But that's
Right.
AI, and it's learning, but it's learning your talk points. It's learning what the company needs, right? There are coding put in. But I think what we're going to start seeing on the marketing side or with call centers is this ability to have someone they can talk to get basic information as a step one. I think AI on in the world of marketing, there are some positives there. As long as they are following the basics, we follow the basics. There are tools that you can utilize that can help, but it should always be a help and not the main. But that's kind of where I'm seeing a lot of it. There's not much you can do AI. I mean, you probably can with all the industry pieces, but mostly marketing call center, I think, is a biggie. Being able to create a better path for communication. It's all going to be about support, and if you utilize correctly, I think that's where it can excel because then it becomes a piece of the function and it's not the entirety. And my concern is that some company's going to try to make it their entirety. And then what do you do when it fails? Like you're basically having to start at square one again. And I think as owners and sales, I mean, I'm fortunate. I see things from an ownership standpoint. I see things from a sales standpoint. but I also see things from a customer standpoint. And I try to make sure that I'm utilizing all of that. I don't always get it right, but as long as I am able to take a step back, that's what I feel will continue to hopefully keep helping me through whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, and you really wanna make sure you're not losing sight of that because, like you said, it's gonna be doing a lot, but it can't do everything, nor should it do everything,
No.
especially in an industry like this, because let's face it, you're gonna want that human connection. I mean, you'll hear like a funny story, like I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently some guy down in Florida sold his house entirely through AI, which I'm still quite not sure how that was possible, all things considered, but
I
it
will
was
get
done.
that.
But for me, I'm all set with that. I don't want AI to do that for me. I mean, if it can help streamline the process and make a better experience for myself, or the agent, if I'm the buyer or the seller, whatever it may be, fine. That benefits everybody. But again, we
Yeah.
got to make sure we're using it efficiently, not just,
Yes.
to completely take over, because
That's the
that's not
key
going to do
word,
anyone any
efficient.
favors.
Efficient is the key word.
Yeah,
And that's not how
absolutely.
as humans, not traditionally how we work. We're not always worried about efficiency. We're worried about I need it now.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. And so, let's look ahead now with the future, maybe the next 6 to 12 months. Is there any particular, goals or milestones you have in mind for StorSuite, what you want it to look like?
Yes, I would like our marketing to continue to grow at the pace it's growing. We decided to make some changes in marketing that I believe are a true positive. We're just kind of getting back to the roots of everything. We have a great marketing team. Tech wise, we are working on what we're calling a V2. So we have the store path, which is again is I mean, hell, I've created it into for the tenant protection with our team. Our tech team is brilliant, but for tenant protection, we have the ability for a tenant to go in and file a claim, connect right to our website and file a claim, and then get text every step of the way what version of the claim they're in.
Mhm.
Beautiful. They can increase their rates on the front end? You can rent a unit. If a tenant's late, they can actually click a link and make their payment. It's just a better way of communicating. We are getting a lot more interest at this moment. We've simplified the process. I'd like to see us, in the next 12 months, have StorePass in 500 to 1,000 facilities. Marketing, I would like us to be able to continue to move. We're on a pace right now where we're almost going to double what we did last year, which is exciting. Tenant protection is a kind of a self-running machine right now. It's how most of these types of programs will work. I just want to make sure that we are continuing to be in front of the tenant. We are continuing to promote and take care at the pace that we are and limit uh, people leaving. I mean, because they do leave, and you just got to be prepared. And then third party management. I do not want to see us grow to the point where, I mean, we had third party management companies year over year double and triple their size. At some point, and I don't mean like 5 to 10, I mean like 60 to 150 facilities. At some point, you need to have the infrastructure in place. I believe that we have done a good job of building our infrastructure as we are attaining, and I want us to keep seeing that. But I think as a company, I would like us to be able to, well, everyone says, "Say, I want to double in value." I want to see us do things the right way. I want to see us to continue to take care of the client. If we do those things and we stay in front of people and our team understands the end goal, then we will see a 50, 60, 70% increase year over year. And that's what we should be able to see. And that's what I believe we will. I think the next 12 months for us are incredible because of the people that we have in place.
Well, that's, a tremendous goal. It certainly looks like you're well on your way to attaining it. So that's great to hear. And, as we come up on time, one thing I always like to end with on the podcast is for anybody that's starting out or considering starting out in the industry today, whether it be, the self storage route or another real estate niche, what words of wisdom would you have for them?
Trust yourself, be willing to be vulnerable, be willing to not know everything, ask questions, and listen. And understand that if you do all those things right, be prepared for a network to be built around you and then utilize your network. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to make sure you're putting yourself in the right position. And do not accept with how some of these companies run, there's almost a bully mentality. Don't allow yourself to get sucked into that, and trust why you're there. If you're there for a reason. Adapt, utilize your tools, and trust in yourself, and that will allow you to trust in your team, and then your team will trust you.
Fully agreed. Very wise words there. And Damon, again, this has been fantastic. Very energetic,
I
transparent,
love
and full
this.
of
Thank you so much.
yeah, and full of real value for anyone in real estate or self storage. So before we call it for our listeners, if anybody wants to learn more about you or possibly connect about even working with you, where's the best place to go to do so?
I would go to our website, storsuite.com, www.storsuite.com, or feel free to call or text me at 717-870-9572. I am readily available.
Fantastic. Well, Damon, thank you again. I really appreciate you. Hope you have a good one, sir.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
Cheers.